Along with being one of my favorite films of all time, this Planet of the Apes movie has the most famous twist ending in cinema. A beautifully crafted narrative of a spaceman crash landing on a planet leads up to a moment post-climax that knocks everyone's socks off. Of course, I'm talking about the original movie, Planet of the Apes. The other not one, not two, not three, but four Planet of the Apes movies in that series go majorly downhill after this twist. This did not stop 20th Century Studios from taking another crack at this in 2001. Tim Burton's Planet of the Apes truly feels like he had it out for his execs. If I wanted to, I could pick apart the entire movie, but instead, I'll highlight some bright spots up top. You have amazing performances, which is not surprising with this star-studded cast. This guy, this guy, this girl. Beautiful costumes and makeup that still allows for actors to be super expressive even with prosthetics. Burton's adaptation was expected to be evolved into a trilogy. The first iteration unfortunately came up so short with audiences that it did not get renewed. This was in part because this movie gave off one emotion that few before it could truly replicate. Confusion. And I'm not talking Donnie Darko or Tenet confusion where a simple rewatch or Google will help you understand. I'm talking complete and utter confusion. It succeeded to make even some of the most acclaimed movie critics leave more puzzled than satisfied. But his reason for choosing this route might surprise you. Let's go back to when I watched this shit show. At about the hour and 30-minute mark into this film, I didn't hate it very much at all. In this moment, it was very easy to tell the movie was not supposed to be taking itself so seriously. The beginning of the movie was the only part that really felt super serious, and for this reason it wasn't hard for me to look past all the weird turns this movie has taken. Back on the spaceship at the beginning, the whole vibe of the movie was different. A Star Trek vibe with a rebellious monkey trainer. Yeah, I almost turned it off 3 minutes in. This tone continues on as Marky Mark goes to rescue a chimp who got lost in some sort of space storm. On this pointless monkey rescue attempt, Mark instead gets warped onto a new planet. And yes, I'm going to keep calling Mark by name. I honestly forgot his character's name at this point, I think. I'm pretty sure it was like Lenny or Liam or something. Like the title of the movie suggests, this planet is ruled by apes, and humans are the inferior species. This new planet is also where the unserious theme takes shape. The goofball theme. So much of this middle part is just apes doing human things for visual gags. It was funny at first, but after the 100th time you see it, it's just not that entertaining. Actually, I could watch them play basketball for a while. The angry apes were over the top angry. The funny apes were over the top funny. All of the apes jumped like this. It was pretty obvious to me that this movie wasn't meant to be transformative or profound in any way. This was until the final fight. The movie's tone gets amped up again with a huge fight at Mark's ruined spaceship. The whole movie, Mark and company had been making their way towards this ruined spaceship. The spaceship had a beacon that was somehow working after 1,000 years, and Mark thought the spaceship was his people who had came searching for him in the past few days. Due to the first movie, me and I think majority of the audience were expecting that he time traveled into the future, so we weren't very surprised when he thought he was going to see a spaceship and instead was met with his co-worker's grave. His old crew had been time traveled 1,000 years before Mark Wahlberg had arrived. The monkeys from the training facility on board eventually lashed out, destroying the humans and evolving into the monkeys we see on screen. And these ones. And these ones. Yeah, don't ask me how that turned into a gorilla. And with that, we now know that Mark was the cause of the apes being here in the first place. With the tone switch set up just in time for Mark to deliver a grand hype-up speech with a little bit of Boston tang.
Come on! This is the day you've waited for! This is the day you get to stand up to the apes! Let's go!
The fight begins, and I'm left sitting here wondering, why the hell is this movie so hated? Sure, the twist wasn't too overwhelming, but this action scene combined with the few serious scenes at the beginning make for a pretty cool shift in the movie's style. If you look past the weird sexual tension with a monkey, sorry I forgot to mention that up top, you have a majority silly adaptation that could appeal to more than one audience. As the monkeys duke it out, it's clear that the humans are about to get leveled. This made me very unhappy because I knew that the movie was now not going to end with a winning side. There was no way they would kill off Mark Wahlberg. Right when I thought Mark and his ape girlfriend were about to hop up on a rock and deliver some sort of equality speech, the monkey that Mark had initially chased into the space storm returned. This, of course, stopped the fight entirely. And if you're confused why, then look into their stupid monkey religion. I don't know what to tell you. I don't want to get into the lore of this dog shit. There's pretty much just some type of prophecy about the Jesus-type monkey coming back down to the planet. It doesn't matter. The point is, I now thought that this was the big twist. I definitely felt quite stupid because I did forget the monkey existed at this point, and it felt like a cheap parlor trick that was supposed to be one of the most notoriously confusing endings. One ape is unfortunately an atheist and attacks Mark in order to end the fight in a way that's better than a monkey floating down from the sky. This ape was a general who had been one of the over-the-top angry apes the whole movie, our main antagonist. Tim Roth plays this character whose name is Thade. He does an excellent job with him, and if you like the style of villain that is just too angry in every situation ever, and he just feels like he's trying to keep it together at all times, then you'll absolutely love this performance. In Thade's last scenes, Tim Roth continues to knock it out of the park, while Thade sits under a table looking like he's regressed back to a different stage of evolution. The interesting thing is, though, General Thade's story is not quite over. He'll be very important right when the movie ends. Mark Wahlberg kisses his two women goodbye. I feel bad dropping these details on you like this. And heads off into the nearby electromagnetic storm to take a shot in the dark. Let's see if Mark can make it home. No surprise, with ease, Wahlberg makes it right back to Earth. His excitement gets larger and larger as he hears air traffic control attempting to get him to avoid any national monuments in his way.
Permission to land. You're way off target. Way off target. Abort. Abort. I can't.
Mark, of course, fails this simple task and lands perfectly on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. Then, without hesitation, Mark walks up the steps to lay his eyes on his favorite president. Me and Mark look on in horror as we see not the face of Honest Abe, but instead, the face of an ape. The face of General Thade. I don't get it. Yep, that's exactly how I still feel now. A bunch of police and medical apes and reporter apes and all that jazz shows up, and I just don't really care at this point. I'm more just trying to figure out what the hell this means. The words behind Thade's head do nothing for me. It's actually only changing the words of the carving very slightly. What have you done, Tim Burton? You're making this impossible. I would just go and look this shit up, but for you, dear watcher, and possibly even listener, I will try and give my best theory as to what the fuck happened, with zero research being done. Here we go.
Never send a monkey to do a man's job.
Alright, I want to start by saying my theory feels like it's really bad. However, I'm pretty sure it's better than anybody could think of if they're really trying to go for zero plot holes at all. Honestly, it might not have been a bad idea just to make a theory with a few plot holes since the movie already has so many of them, but I'll try and stay true to my beliefs. The only way I could explain this is that the electromagnetic storm not only facilitated time travel, but also allowed for traversal between parallel dimensions. Basically, the first time Mark went into the cloud, he time traveled, arriving at a point after his crew landed just before his monkey did. The second time he entered the cloud, he was transported to a different dimension. In this dimension, apes were humans and humans were apes. Probably. You might ask me, Gio, how could Thade be Abraham Lincoln if this is an alternate dimension? Without getting too in-depth on what alternate dimensions could be, I would counter with, maybe the first time travel journey opened up a parallel universe, where Thade and the apes that Mark created assumed the roles of the humans back on Earth. Yep, sat here for 4 days, and that's the best I could come up with. Let's do my research. Okay, I did my research, and here's the issue. Nobody really knows. Some people think it's just paradoxical, while others believe it's some sort of commentary on modern society. Many claim it's just left up to interpretation, but a lot of these interpretations claim to be right. I can poke holes in all of them. My own theory is flawed because it doesn't make sense that the storm would perform two different sci-fi functions. The time travel theory is problematic because it doesn't explain how Thade could have lived human history so accurately. The paradox theory is, well, I can't really wrap my mind around it. There is one theory that makes the most sense. I'll give a lot of credit here to Screen Crush for explaining it really, really well. I will explain it better though, since I have a webcam and a whiteboard, so here we go. This film uses the model of time travel that I'm calling the single double diagonal timeline model. Might need to work on the name. Basically, the two timelines that you see here are one and the same. We're just splitting them up to show visually where someone would land after they cross through the time machine, which is here in the dotted line. In this world, the time machine is the electromagnetic storm. The first being to enter into the storm was the monkey. Let's say the monkey started up here. The monkey traveled into the time machine diagonally and landed down here on the timeline. This point was right during Mark Wahlberg's war with the humans versus the apes. The reason Mark arrived first is because his point did leave after the monkey up here, but also traveled on a diagonal line, placing him before the monkey. This model of time travel is confirmed when the original ship leaves significantly later and arrives 1,000 years before Mark Wahlberg does. Once you understand this, it makes sense that Thade could have taken a ship much further down the line, and because of how this model of time travel works, landed way before humans even evolved, affecting the course of our history. Now, you could interpret this as Thade leaving not too much longer after Mark and then just going back and taking over the humans and changing all their statues. I like to take it more as Thade leaving a long time after Mark and getting back before humans had evolved. It wouldn't really make much sense that he would live out our human history so exact to the point where he could be Abraham Lincoln. But I think that's more of the comment on society that I don't really understand. Yep, so it still doesn't really make sense even with the whiteboard. Also, this is not the best model here. I'll try and get better as we go. I am absolutely exhausted now. So much brain power went into even understanding that ending, and having to now explain it to other people takes even more. Now I'm sitting here left with just one question. Why? Why, Tim Burton? Why would you make something this befuddling? When I think of Tim Burton movies previously, I can't think of one that leaves you feeling unsatisfied. Okay, maybe unsatisfied is a bad word. Most of those common Tim Burton tropes were barely present in this movie. An ending that brings a whimsical story to a more grounded, resolved feeling, not present at all. This may have been due to the creative differences with the studio that Tim was working for, but man, I really would have liked to see him bring more of his actual style into this. At the very beginning of this video, I mentioned that this film makes it feel like Tim Burton hated his executives. This ending would have confirmed my theory if I hadn't dug a little deeper and realized that this movie wasn't just half-assed. This ending was actually a nod to the book. The iconic ending that we all know and love from the original movie wasn't even in the book in the first place. At the end of Pierre Boulez's 1963 novel, our protagonists return to Earth and are met with an ape driving a car. So I kind of see what you're trying to do here, Tim. I'll admit, Tim Burton's twist ending was not something that warranted a second, definitely not a third movie. But I would have been really interested to see what he could have done with just a little bit of a looser leash around him. Without such a restrictive studio on his back, maybe he could have brought the real Tim Burton-ness that we all know and love to this film. And maybe he wouldn't have absolutely botched the ending. 'Cause honestly, it does feel like a little bit of a middle finger to the studio when I watch it sometimes. I can imagine how frustrating it must have been for a lot of people walking out of this theater in 2001. Just walking out of a theater and talking to your friends and then asking other people around you and being like, what just happened? What does this mean? What is this ending? And every single person you ask has a completely different answer. That's not to say I don't like movies that are left up to interpretation. It's just this didn't feel like it should have been that type of movie. The whole time, this movie didn't really take itself that seriously, so right at the end, to expect me to have some sort of profound realization as to the story events coming together, it just didn't really work in the first place. And also, when you want to make this revelation something that could be taken 100 different ways, it's just never gonna be satisfying. Whether or not Tim Burton had the studio execs breathing down his neck in this one, you have to be able to read the theme of your film and put your foot down when your execs want you to do something that you know is going to lead to failure. At least offer something the audience can grasp. And with that, thank you for watching, John. Specifically you, John. But also thank you everyone else who clicked on this video today. I haven't posted in a good while, but now I am back. I was actually on another YouTube channel trying out a different avenue, and I realized that this is the one that I absolutely love. So I just am happy that anybody clicked on this one today to watch. If you're a returning viewer, thank you so much. I can't believe you're still here. It's been 9 months since my last video, so now that my wife has had her baby, I'm back on the grind. I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really enjoyed making it a lot. It was a video that was weird because it was actually more fun script writing and editing the damn thing than watching the movie itself. I'm hoping that that is not the case in the future with the movies that I'm watching. Yeah, so if you think I missed something, or you just disagree with one of the points that I said, or you really don't like my black button up, then go right to the comments and tell me about it, because I'll absolutely be responding to all of those, because the ending of this movie is really fun to discuss, as long as you don't get pissed. But again, thank you for clicking on the video. Feel free to subscribe if you like it, because we'll be having a lot more coming out. Yeah, deuces.